Welcome to Her Own Boss, the podcast created by recent graduates to help you find your inner entrepreneur. Her Own Boss is created by Anissa, Ben, Sarah, Megan, Lucy, and me, Nikki. Hey everyone, this is your host Nikki, and today I'm joined by the incredible Sophie Miller. Sophie is currently studying marketing, advertising, and branding at the University of Gloucestershire. On top of this, she is a freelance marketing and social media consultant and the founder of Pretty Little Marketer, a social media platform that helps young women achieve their marketing and career dreams. I personally learned so much from this minisode. Sophie helps us understand what recruiters are looking for in a CV and shares so many actionable tips to help you nail your CV or cover letter. Enjoy! This minisode is sponsored by Rise, created by Barclays. Rise is a global community of the world's top innovators who are on a mission to support female founders create the tech solutions that will shape our future for the better. Hi, Sophie.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this mini-sode. So obviously we're talking all about CVs today. I think this is such an important topic for pretty
Mhm.
much anyone throughout their career, but I think particularly for, recent graduates who are just starting out in their career. I think it's quite a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah,
When I first had to write a CV, I honestly had no idea where to start. It felt really daunting. So hopefully this can help some people.
I hope so.
So, to kind of take it back to the beginning, what do employers even look for in a CV? What should you be trying to communicate through your CV?
I think it can be really easy to kind of just see your CV as like something you submit. It doesn't need a lot of thought. I know back when I was like in school, we were taught very generic stuff, and I was never taught to kind of consider the recruiter, which is obviously who's reading it, and is a really important factor. So yeah, my first ever CV was, oh goodness, I'd probably cringe at it now. I would probably hate myself. Um, but yeah, I think there's three really important things that employers look for. And the first one would be why you want the job. So showing that you're a good fit and explaining that you are passionate about the company, that you understand the company. Number two would be how well do you know the job? Are you just applying because you've seen the title as marketing manager and you just kind of want to get into marketing? Have you just seen that, or do you actually know what it's about, what the company does, what the job includes? And then finally, I think they want to see your potential to do the job. I don't think they're expecting you to be perfect on the first day or perfect in the interview. They just want to see your potential, see what you've done and what you can do in the future. So, yeah, I think those are the top three things that employers are looking for.
Yeah, I think that that's a really great way to summarize it. And I guess I'm particularly interested in the first two. So, why you want the job and how well you know the job. Because one thing I didn't know, probably didn't even realize it until I started working at a company, is how much recruiters and kind of HR departments who are reading through your CV are looking to see how you align with company values.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know that companies had values.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
had no idea. I would never think that, a company could have values. So could you explain what company values are, maybe some examples of what they could be, and then where you find them?
Of course, yeah. So, company values are the same as our values. So, like what we believe in and how that drives what we do. So they are core principles and pillars of their identity. They literally make up who the company is, and it can also be used as a guide on how they do business. So, for example, if one of their values is sustainability, you can expect
Mhm.
that to be sort of ingrained in their office culture and like an output of all that they do. So, yeah, some examples like that one might be sustainability, commitment, diversity, being integral in their practice and what they do. Companies actually put them everywhere and anywhere. And if you study a company well, even through their advertising, you could pick up on these sort of values and what they believe in and just who they are, their personality. But the easiest place is either just on Google, type in like, what is blah blah blah's company values, and it will
Mhm.
pop up. Or if they have a careers page, so typically if you go on, let's say, Topshop, for example, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you've got like FAQ, returns, shipping, and then somewhere in that kind of bottom bar should be a careers page. And often they have about us, our history, and then they'll likely have a page on their mission or values. So yeah, it's actually a lot easier to find than I ever thought. Exactly like you were saying, before I kind of started dabbling in recruiting myself. So, in my first full time job, I helped with the recruiting team. In my last role in a marketing agency, I helped hire our interns and these sorts of things. It was never something I considered, especially being like 16 to 18 when I was working my little retail jobs. I kind of just applied and hoped for the
Yeah.
best. But yeah, values are so important, not just for the company, but for you too to consider do they align with me? For me, sustainability and diversity are huge values of mine, and I could never, just out of my own principle, work for a company that doesn't align with these. So yeah, best place is always a company careers page, or just hop on Google.
Yeah, such good tips, and I love what you said at the end there, that it's important for you to
Hmm.
demonstrate how you align, but also when you're looking for jobs, if you come across a company that is, completely doesn't align with your values, then,
Hmm.
chances are you're not going to love working there. So
Yeah.
yeah, such a good tip. I wish I knew that earlier. What are some of the ways that you can kind of reflect these company values in your CV and really get across that you align with their company, you're completely behind what they're doing, and you think you would be a good fit?
I think something that I've kind of like a tip that I've picked up along my journey this year is to consider what the values look like personified. So I've
Mhm.
used the example on PLM before of the Gymshark value of being visionary and considering, okay, like what does a visionary person look like? You can even type into Google, like, what does a creative person look like? What are creative skills? And just intertwining these throughout your CV and throughout your application. So using visionary as an example, what does that look like as a person? So for me, I would say it's someone who's bold with new ideas, and they're driven and imaginative, and they're able to think outside of the box, adapt in the face of new challenges. That's what visionary means to me. So what I would do is in my personal statement, or even throughout my cover letter, I would give examples of this. My biggest rule is show it, don't say it. So it could be really
Mhm.
easy to just introduce, like, hi, I'm Sophie, I'm a third year student, and I'm visionary. Like, that's great, but all you've done is copy a word across. So, yeah, consider what experience do I have in being driven? Do I have any examples of a new idea that I've ran with and that's been really successful? Even examples where you failed and been able to get back up again. I think all of those encompass what a visionary person would look like. So, yeah, just reflect on your past, your experiences, and consider how that fits with them, and emphasize those parts of your skills and experience in your CV and your covering letter. And then, yeah, the same with reflecting the job description, just personify it. So if they want someone creative, like, cool, what does that physically look like in a day to day? I think that's really helpful to kind of, I don't know, imagine it and then write it down on paper. So, yeah, just consider the value and think about what it looks like personified.
Yeah, that's so helpful. I completely agree that showing and demonstrating that you've lived out these values or these skills
Hmm.
before is a lot better than just saying, like, I am visionary or like I value sustainability. And I think it's maybe a good way as well of tailoring your CV to that specific company. So it's the same experiences, but
Yeah,
how does it fit with what they're looking for?
absolutely.
And so the final part, or the final thing you said should go in your CV. So there was why you want the job and how well you know the job, which we've kind of covered in, I guess, scope of showing off company values. And then the final thing is, do you have potential? So I guess that is around showing your experiences and your skills through your CV.
Hmm.
And we've spoken in previous minisodes about the different places you can get these. So side hustles is a big one that loads of people will have, but also doing, paid work, volunteering, society, stuff like that.
Yeah.
How, do you have any kind of best practice or top tips on how people can communicate these through their CV?
Yeah, so again, something I've learned probably in the last 2 years is to quantify your experience. I feel like this is taught a lot more now through universities and school than it was when I was at school. My experience on my first CV was like this massive paragraph about how I served customers at Cath Kidston and how I like replaced a roll of receipts and all this sort of rubbish that no one really cares about.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely my first tip would be to add quantities. Even in retail, for example. So back when I was at Cath Kidston, have I exceeded my weekly sales target 3 weeks in a row? That shows great consistency. It shows that you're working hard week on week. Did you contribute, say, like 10% to a Black Friday sales target? It shows that you're really a great leader in the team. Clearly have a really creative and innovative approach if you're able to kind of exceed those targets. And also as a recruiter, so when I read CVs, when someone adds quantities to things, it just helps it put it into context and perspective. impressive, especially if, say, they come from a tech background. I've never worked in tech, so to add numbers,
Hmm.
something I actually understand, like I understand a percentage. So to add that makes it really helpful for the recruiter to kind of translate into their own language. So yeah, number one is absolutely always add quantities, even if you think it's pointless, like they don't care that I've served 100 customers over a weekend. It all contributes to your skills, it all contributes to something. And then my second one would be to use language that makes the smallest things seem big. So it could be really easy just to write on your CV. For example, say you helped a friend with a small business set up their Instagram. It sounds super lame, like it sounds like anyone can do it. But actually, if you word it better,
Yeah.
I don't know, you assisted and led a small business to improve and increase their digital presence through a process of social media managing and consulting. Like, goodness, that sounds worlds apart, doesn't it?
It sounds amazing.
I can sell anything. But yeah, it's literally that's it. You're selling yourself. You're selling what you've done. Write out it as a basic sentence and think, cool, how can I sell this? How can I make this sound better? Rather than stacking shelves, how can you add to that? How can you add a quantity and kind of big it up to be a lot more than it is? Sometimes I kind of sound like I'm selling myself wrong and emphasizing too much, but actually it's competitive out there. You're allowed to kind of not be humble. You're allowed to big yourself up. That's exactly
Mhm.
what your CV and cover letter is meant to do. Make all the tiny things seem giant and super impressive, because they are. You've done them and you deserve to shout about them. So, yeah, those would definitely be my top two tips for just emphasizing your experience.
I love that. I think those are such good tips. And again, all stuff I wish I'd known when I was writing my first CV. You're right. I'd probably be so embarrassed to look back at mine.
Oh, I recently did like a little revamp of my old CV ready for grad schemes.
Yeah.
So I haven't used my CV in years. For my agency job, I applied through Indeed. So you just like type it all into an online form. And then my previous role, I was like hired through a friend. It was a little retail role. And then before that, it was probably like 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, recently I had a look at that CV and goodness me, I was disgusted with myself. But yeah, like it's a process, isn't it? CVs are difficult. I know we can make it seem really easy with these tips, but actually it is a hard process. My
Yeah.
recent one that I made for grad schemes took me about 10 hours to revamp and be happy with, probably just because I'm fussy. So if you're listening and you're struggling and I'm making it sound really easy, it's not. But tips like this just elevate it to a new level. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's really good to know. It does sound easy when you can kind of say in hindsight, these are the top tips, but
yeah.
in practice it does take a long time. And
Mhm.
I guess that's why people say that you should revisit your CV often and just keep it up to date because
Yes.
otherwise it does take so long to kind of get all these points down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing all those with us. It was so helpful to hear about those three main things you should put in your CV, why you want the job, how well you know the job, and then do you have the potential, and then also how to kind of best communicate company values, but also your experiences in your CV. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review and let us know who else you'd like us to interview. You can find out more about us by searching Her Own Boss Podcast on Instagram and LinkedIn.